Welcome to the Physician Wealth Med podcast. It's wealth medicine for doctors. If you're a doctor and you have no time, it looks like you found us just in time. This podcast is for all doctors who would like to work on their personal wealth, but do not have traditional hours to do so because they have no time. We're here to jump into topics that will help you address your wealth both inside and outside of your practice so that you can live the life of significance you're dreaming of. You'll hear from your peers, you'll hear from industry professionals, and your host and wealth advisor, me, Kevin Sullivan. This is your time. Now let's get started with today's podcast. Welcome to another show of the Physician Wealth Med podcast. We like to say it's wealth medicine for doctors. Today, we're going to talk about burnout medicine for doctors. We have a very special guest, Dr. Krishna Bhatta, with us here today. He's been a longtime friend of mine. I've known him for many years. And I just wanted to thank you first off for coming and doing this podcast for me today.
Thank you, Kevin. It's wonderful to be with you. And as I told you offline, that it's always, I look for an excuse to talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a very important topic that we're talking about today. And I'll just give you a little bit about Dr. Bhatta. He's an author. He's got a book out called Journey from Life to Life. He's also a surgeon. He's an inventor. He also has his own app called Relax Infinity. And we'll make sure that you have the information in the links for that too here on this podcast. But he's currently practicing as the chief of urology at Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center in Bangor, Maine. And he began his life in a small Indian village, and he attended Patna Medical College in India. And he continued his education in the UK and completed his research at the medical training at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. Dr. Bhatta speaks and writes on meditation and spiritual topics, and he also lives in Maine with his wife, Nayantara, who is a OBGYN, and their two children who are also physicians. So there is medical wealth of knowledge in this family from start to finish, and I can't think of a better family to talk about this important topic about physician burnout here today. And I know if you've got four doctors growing in the same household, there's got to be a lot of issues there and how you've overcome that. And that's the real reason why I really wanted to have you on here, is to share your expertise, your thoughts about this important topic. I thought of you right away when we were going to do this subject matter. So I do appreciate you coming on to do this for us. Thank you again for joining us.
No, thank you, Kevin. And I'm so happy to see you as wealth advisor taking up this topic. And I wish more financial advisors take up this topic because it directly, the medical profession and burnout directly affects what happens to the finances. Either if you lose a job for one reason or the other, or in the worst case scenario, if somebody takes their life, or even when you are good. So if you are in a good shape, you can make sound decisions. So I think it should be in the realm of what you are doing. And I'm glad to see that you're supporting physicians, not only advising on their wealth, but also how they could live a better life.
Absolutely. Yes. And that is so huge, because if you want to attain a life of significance and do all of the things that you want to do, because being a doctor, it's in your DNA to help people. And if you can't get the help yourself, how can you pass that on to other people? It's just on a personal note. So that's huge. I also wanted to just briefly tell our listeners today how we met. It's been a few decades. It's back, in the back of the 1990s. I was part of the Maine Medical Association, just working with that group. And Dr. Bhatta and I met there. You were the president at one point.
I was president, and you were doing your song and dance.
You had some words to a song. I guess you called me on from your cell phone and said, I got some words. Could you put some music to it? Because if you don't know this, I'm a musician as well. And we do a lot of music. I've recorded down in Nashville and stuff. But it's interesting because he sent me the words. I put some music to it, created a soundtrack for it. And they had their annual conference. I think it was in New Hampshire. And there was about 400 doctors there. And he wanted me to sing the song at that conference. And I thought, goodness, if I pass out, there's about 400 doctors that could help me out if I got too nervous singing that in front of the doctors. But what a great time that was. Yeah, it was very good. And I think you still have the song today.
Yeah, it is on YouTube. When in Maine.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's just a rich history that we have together, and I just appreciate you doing this. One of the things I really liked about what you were talking to me about before the podcast, too, when we were trying to fit this in, is what are the 50% of the doctors plus that are not burnt out? What are they doing, and how can the doctors that are feeling that pressure of burnout, how can they use some of those traits to help them out so that they can go into that day-to-day grind? I was looking at that survey that we were talking about there, that Medscape survey 2023, right. In the top 5 medical specialties that have well above a 50% burnout rate is emergency medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics, OBGYN, and infectious disease. That's the top 5. And then when you look at the 2022, where was that? I have some information here. The 2022, the article written in the USA Today was actually talking about urology having the very high stress. So you're right in that fray of those two types of things. So talk to us a little bit about what leads to burnout and what you're doing.
Kevin, yes, of course, how you respond to your situation. But the situation in healthcare has changed a lot, especially after COVID, and the rates did go up after COVID.
Yes.
There are many, it's multifactorial, but some of the things that I want to point out, one is the whole thing of EMR, electronic medical record, has given so much burden, so much more burden to the doctors. Even doctors who can handle technology, the inboxes are full of results and letters and questions. So it has added an additional layer of work to doctors, which was not there. The other thing, of course, is, as you said, DNA of doctors. They like to serve, but they also like to a reciprocation, an appreciation, and admiration, or some. It may be right or wrong, but we all need some, and we all look for that. And somehow the administrator-doctor relationship, I think, could be better, and sometimes that is at the root of the cause. So this is one of the top 3 causes, at least these 2 things. But at the same time, my interest peaked when I was giving talks on burnout, is that if there is an overall 50% or 49% burnout rate in doctors, why don't the other 50% burn out? And that's where I started looking into that. And I looked more and more. But before we go there, I found a fascinating history of the amount of work that we do. Sometimes some doctors will overwork themselves. But it's interesting to see that in 1817, the working hour in USA was over 80 hours a week. And I think one of the legislation was passed to curtail it to 80 hours a week. And then Henry Ford was the first one, I think around 1940 or somewhere in the 1900s, when he found out that if workers were working more than 40 hours, the amount of productivity did not go that much up. So he's the one who first started the 40-hour week. And now we are questioning even 40 hours, how to do that. So that is, it's like people were working longer hours, but they were not producing that much. People noticed fatigue then, but I think the burnout is the same as fatigue that they were calling then. So it's interesting to say that it's nothing new. It's not like it started happening today. It has been going on for some time, and people have been trying to do something about it. But again, there were people and there are people who don't burn out. And some people, there is a paper about that, hardy personality. Carboso and their colleagues, they were psychologists. They found out there are some qualities in people, and their key qualities were commitment and challenge and control. These were some of the factors that these people have that, and their social network or interaction. They were not people who isolate themselves. They're more likely to burn out than people who have friends like Kevin Sullivan.
Yes, sir. Well, didn't that study talk about hardiness and exercise coming together?
Exercise helps. Yeah, they did a study and they found that there are some people who have these qualities of commitment, challenge, and control. And they did better when the stressful situations happened. I'm not saying don't change the environment. Yes, make it better. Right. But at the same time, how you respond to that situation also matters in your fatigue and burnout. I'll give you this simple story that came to me. It's like somebody in a high intensity institute like Mass General, Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, was talking to me that the mindset, and many doctors have this mindset, I had that mindset at one time, is that let's help as many people as we can. So our schedule is full. Okay, I'll open it and I'll work it till 7 o'clock in the evening. So that's what happened to him. He was having these patients waiting. So I said, okay, I'll see some extra patients. So what did that do? Yes, it may help 1 or 2 extra people, but then he was getting home at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, no time with the family and nothing. So then he made an intentional decision that, no, I'm not going to be able to help everybody on earth by doing that. So let's find a balance. So then he started saying, okay, I'll work till 5 o'clock and then come home and do something else, play tennis or whatever my hobby is. And it's interesting, Kevin, if you change what you are doing, it doesn't cause that somehow you're still working in a way, in a sense, maybe cooking or maybe walking. But just the change of scenery or change of environment does a lot to your mental setup and how you react, and the burnout process doesn't happen. So his life is different now. He's much more work-life balance. And it's sometimes hard to make that simple switch for doctors.
Work-life balance is huge. It's got to be an aspiration of focus for many doctors. And then if you think that through a little bit more, you want that work-life balance, but what is the balance that you're trying to get to offset the work? Is it spending more time with your family? Is it finding the hobby or finding that creativity? Or is it just, there's a lot of talk about silent walking, just walk around, do a couple of miles of walking, but don't put anything on, leave your podcast at home or whatever, and just get that quiet space too.
Yeah, I have also started on our app. We have this thing is that bring mindfulness to your walking style. Because mindful walking sometimes has a ritual. You walk slowly and you walk like a statue. Nothing like that. So we talk about, I know the silent walking you are talking about. We talk about whatever your walk is, create outer silence and create digital silence. Those two things are important. You may want your phone because you want to count your steps if you don't have a watch. But if somebody answers or somebody calls you, just don't answer. Just maintain that digital silence unless it's emergency. And then the second part is the focus on a rhythmic movement. If it is your feet, feel the touch of the ground, feel the movement. And all you have to do is do these two things: digital silence, outer silence, and focus on your kind of rhythmic movement. But before you start doing that, I encourage people to have a set, clear intention. So make sure that you have this thing that, okay, I'm going to walk half an hour, or I'm going to walk 2 miles. Something that you are going to complete then and there. It's not like tomorrow. So before you start, you set your intentions. Then you bring this outer silence and digital silence, focus, and then complete the job. The other thing that happens, if any silent walking of the kind you are talking or the kind I am talking, when you are silent, it's outer silence. It's not inner silence. So how do you deal with those thoughts and noise that happen? And those happen. So for me, I just wrote a blog recently. There are 3 steps it happens. First, you may notice increased noise. It's like you are now aware of everything that's going in the mind because you are silent outside. So now the things that you were not noticing before because you were looking at the iPhone or something else, now you are looking inside. Now it tries to do that.
But it's like the loudness of silence.
Loudness of silence. That's a beautiful word.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The second stage, what happens is somehow good thoughts starts coming. And good thoughts are hard to push away. We don't want. So that's what I say. You can use this for creative thinking. So use that time for creative thinking. Einstein called it swimming in silence. So he used the word swimming in silence, and I use it, I borrow it from him. Yeah, the full quote is that I think 99 times, nothing happens. I stop thinking, swim in silence, and the answer comes to me. So that's
very profound.
And I'm sure you must have found some ideas come when you were silent, either in the morning or not.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yes, just that serenity. A lot of times I'll say to my wife, Diane, I'll say, look at this mountain, look at this river there, because when we're outside like that, and I'll say, this mountain doesn't have anything to do with the stock market. It doesn't have anything to do with worry. It's just here. You can just listen to the sounds around you, and it's just very tranquil, and that's what helps us reset. I know for me, I've found that being a musician, that's my outlet. That's my hobby. That's what I do. I still get on the creative side and go do some music and play and back up our son who is on NBC's The Voice. It's a lot of stuff that we do, but it's just a nice diversion for me. So is it really tough for like doctors to find that place for them or that hobby to do, or is it something that they just do really well and they just want to do it?
No, I think you touched the point. What can doctors do about burnout is these things. Find something to develop a personality. So hardy personality is one, but I would go one step beyond that. I think you have to find that personality that you described just now. So it's mind and body. We focus everything on mind and body. But if you touch your you, that mind, body, and you, and there is a little gap between you and the thoughts. Thoughts will come and go, but you will always be with you. And that you can give it name. I called in our app the flame or flame of consciousness, or you can call it consciousness. Give it name. It's not the spirit or soul. That's deep down in the nucleus form. But there is something that looks at the mountain and feels like awakened or something. Some magic happens.
Yes.
Some creativity happens. So that journey from even the hardy personality to the balanced, collected, cool, calm, that level where you are just you for a few moments. I call it intermittent silence, practice intermittent silence. But that's what it is. Walk around the banks of the river or look at the mountain and just look at the full moon.
Or listen to the song when you're in Maine. They could do that.
Listen to our song,
Yeah.
It is September.
Yes. Do you suppose that the doctors that are facing burnout, that they don't do these things? Or maybe they want to, but they're not doing it? Or how would you look at that?
So what happens, Kevin, in my view, this is not documented data or something, is that we sometimes get consumed there are some consuming thoughts, and it's our creation. So we pick up a situation and become consumed with it. All the rest goes by the wayside. So I gave you one story. Let me give you another story. There is a doctor who wants to become, say, chief of urology, chief of surgery, chief of somebody. And in the hospital, he puts his name in the hat, and somehow someone else is chosen. And it's not his fault that he's not chosen. But then he becomes so absorbed in that, so-and-so doesn't like me, the whole politics comes into the play. And in the moment, he sends a resignation letter. So he resigns, he goes to another hospital, and in that hospital, his Again, this thing is churning inside.
Sure.
And he stays there 2 years. After that, they don't renew his contract. So it's self-destruction. I'm giving you an extreme situation, but this is also a situation that you can do. And even though you don't recognize, but you are burning yourself out, because all those situations are there outside, but you are adding on some of your own, the churning of the inside. And altogether, it is not a healthy atmosphere. So I think you have to watch out for yourself and take some decisions in time that is healthy for you, healthy for your well-being, rather than get consumed by those situations.
Yeah, because that like a self-inflicted wound or just that next level, like always wanting to attain that next level to become the chief of something, like you said, and that desire might just bring on that non-needed stress, I guess I should say. Trying to find the right.
I'm not saying don't go for it, but then
right, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not you should shy away from being proactive about something. But then the other thing is that if you want to change something in the hospital, like the system-wide change, then you do something about it, rather than just be a kind of negative thoughts that can eat you up. Be proactive, go and take a position and be on the committee or be on something, and be prepared that people may not listen to you. The ground realities have to be recognized. And the ground reality from the past was like many years ago, doctors were, at least I was trained in Scotland and England, doctors were very respected, and I used to say doctors were God then. And they will go around with everybody, will come along with them and all that. But then this administration or administrators, this management came in. And management has to find its own place. So somehow that balance has to be, I don't know, you have to find that balance.
Yeah. To be comfortable within yourself, to stay working in a challenging environment with a political arena within inside the administration might not be the best. So is there an age like where this begins, like physicians would start to begin feeling the burnout, or is it just more maybe how they're wired or the amount of hours that they're working, and it taps people of every age? Or what's your thoughts there?
No, I think I saw in the Medscape survey that female were more prone to burnout, but I don't think there is an age thing, because younger, maybe because they are new and suddenly they came out of training, but most people are aware of the fact that they are new and they know themselves that they are new. But I think the tendencies of overworking or tendencies of knowing what to expect from the administration and management, those things are important. And I don't know about the paperwork. It's like, I shouldn't say paperwork anymore. It's more like computer work.
Staring at a screen for a huge amount of time, doing all that kind of organization.
Yeah, I was watching recently, there is a person who talks about Dr. Verghese. He talks about how we have distanced away from physical exams. So I have 15 minutes to see Kevin Sullivan when he comes to my office. In that 15 minutes, how much can I achieve and how much discussion can I have? In the name of productivity, doctors have gone away from doing a thorough physical exam or a thorough interview. So all those things, yes, you can do something about it. You can write about it. You can do something, but don't let it bother you to a point where you get burnout.
Right. What are your thoughts on a physician that works in a hospital environment like you do, or a clinic, versus a physician that has their own practice? Is there a difference in the burnout status?
Nowadays, it's majority of the doctors are working for a hospital or a big group practice, which again becomes like that because of obvious reasons, especially when the electronic medical record came, that became so burdensome, expense-wise. So it became a financial kind of decision for doctors to go and join the hospitals. And I don't know if there is a burnout difference because the factors, outside factors, are still there.
Yeah.
Even if you're private practice, unless your practice is totally limited to the office, you are still exposed to all the other things. You still have to do the billing. You still have to reply to your patients. You still have to go to hospital, and you still have some administration work or administrator. I don't think nowadays there is a big difference.
Is there something that a doctor can do? I guess we touched on this, but in those early stages, if they find themselves starting to burn out or feeling that pressure just starting to mount, what would you say right off the bat? Just find your hobby and go start?
I think, Kevin, one of the biggest points that other people also stress is recognizing.
Yeah.
Because many times people don't recognize or don't want to recognize. They don't feel like I'm stressed out. I'm not stressed. I'm a doctor. I know how to handle stress. So even though it is happening, and maybe other people, colleagues, should also help that person. So I think it's an individual responsibility, yes, but also a collective responsibility. If there is behavior change, if you feel like you're working too much, it's like I had a colleague who used to go home at midnight. And so we were all trying to help him do things that he could do more efficiently. So I think that once you recognize, then you're more likely to do something about it.
Yes. Yeah. To get to the other side of it or work yourself through it. As far as decision making, because I can imagine that would just cloud their decision making. If they can't recognize it, then but kudos to you and other doctors coming alongside that doctor to say, hey, look, let's help you out here and let's help you get maybe a little earlier. Let's do things more efficiently, faster, stronger. That's huge. So I think that plays a part into it as well.
Yeah, I think it is the collective responsibility of the group or whoever we call friends to help each other, right? I mean, so yeah.
So in your mind, I have to ask this question because it's a wealth podcast for doctors. How does this, and I gave you some of these questions in advance, but how does this affect their wealth when you think about their personal wealth and their decision making for wealth for a doctor that's burnt out?
Yeah, so I said in the beginning, thanks to you for doing it, because first of all, it's like the wealth that you have and the wealth that you potentially can create. And both of that can be affected depending on the degree of burnout. If you're totally fatigued at work, what decision can you make about your financial decision or the money you have? So basically, the money is not working for you.
This is one of the reasons why we started the podcast, is to have something for doctors to listen to on their own time, because they have no traditional hours like you would think, right? So if we could provide them this kind of content so that at their convenience, they could listen to this or view this, that's huge. But I know, like most business professionals anyway, not knowing where you stand or what the future looks like, or are you on pace, are you on track, and all of those things that go with it. No one should ever have to wonder if they're on track for any kind of goal with today's tools and resources that we have. So I think just knowing where you stand can help alleviate some of that burnout too.
Kevin, I want to thank you because I learned a lot from you in financial sense or wealth management when you were at McDonald Investment, or
with the Key Corp. Yes, sir. Boy, that's a little bit ago. What would you like to add? If there was like any other topic you'd like to add to this, what do you think would be a good thing to add?
Well, it's such a vast topic, So I would summarize it by saying that you should recognize it. And of course, if you want to change something in the environment, then you should be proactive about it. And then find out the qualities of hardy personality. At least you can start there. Yes. And then move on to things like mindfulness and meditation that can not only help you, it will help your family, your surrounding, and your patients, because a balanced person is
very good.
Much better communicator as well.
The other thing I want to let our viewers and listeners know is, how can they get your app, Relax Infinity?
Yeah. So there is a website, relaxinfinity.com, and there is link to Android and Apple, but you can also search in App Store or Google Play Store for Relax Infinity and continue your infinite journey.
There you go. What about your book, From
On
Journey from
Amazon,
Life to Life?
Journey-
I read on
Journey
Amazon.
from Life to Life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a copy here. And,
There you go. There's this book, ladies and gentlemen, Journey from Life to Life. Now, you wrote this how long ago? 5-6 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I thought. Okay. No, that's great.
Thank you, Kevin. This has been great to come back and connect with you again. And
Yes, sir. Thank you.
we will continue.
Absolutely. We've been talking to Dr. Krishna Bhatta, the Chief of Urology at the Eastern Maine Medical Center up in Bangor, Maine. I'm in New York. He's in Maine. So thankful that you joined us here today. Say hello to your lovely wife for me. It's been great talking to you. I know she could weigh in on this subject from start to finish too, being an OBGYN herself. But I just thank you for doing this podcast with me today.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right. Thank you. Dr. Krishna Bhatta is not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Physician Wealth Meds. Securities and advisory services are offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA and SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. That's our podcast for today. And remember, if you're not working on your personal wealth, who is? Please share this podcast with your friends and colleagues and make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Any questions about what you heard today, please send an email to kdsullivan@lpl.com. Physician Wealth Meds, wealth medicine for doctors.